mentioned the women. And I know that Ruth has spent a great deal of going into the places that you cannot behind the veil. And I know
Right.
Audrey's talked about that. Can you describe a bit for Ruth's ministry? We know that obviously she was trained, you said, from this as the time she was a child, but she's ministering in parts that you can't. Describe to us a bit what she has discovered in her ministry to the women in these different cultures.
Well, for 50 years, when we looked at the power structure, particularly of Islam, we thought, well, you reach the men, you reach the family. And the only thing that's wrong with that, it's not true.
The only thing you're wrong with it is that it's not true.
Yeah. And so what we found is that the majority of women who had been baptized by their husbands, the husband went through this big pilgrimage, dreams and visions, reading the Bible through 3 to 5 times, came to Jesus, however that baptism took place. And after a few months, he comes home and he looks at that woman, like we do in Eastern Kentucky, and says, woman, you need to know something. I'm a Christian. That makes this house a Christian. That makes you a Christian. And he baptizes her, and that's her whole pilgrimage. And we never knew that for 50 years because we talked to men. And so what women were saying when we started listening, Christianity and Islam is the same. It's by men, for men, through men, and women are a secondary consideration. And so what Ruth does is a lot of places, the conservative places, we're in a house for 6 hours, 4 hours, where the men eat on one part of the house and the women eat on the other part of the house. Mm. But when they come to our house at night, they'll come as a couple.
Okay. And it has to be at night. This is like a Nicodemus encounter
with
couples.
As a whole, well, they eat breakfast at noon in a lot of the Arab world. They eat their noon meal at 7 p.m. and they eat the evening meal at midnight. And when they talk politics, sports, and religion, midnight to 3 o'clock in the morning.
And they sleep from 3 to noon.
And so they sleep from 3 in the morning, until late. And so lifestyle changes are the hardest changes to make. And we teach this to young couples, and we'll get text and email, and I'll look at the timestamp and realize where they are in the world. And I'll text back, what's wrong? You're up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And they'll say, well, we're doing what you told us to do. We've just been with 7 people or 10 people from our apartment complex in the parks that these governments make in the middle of these harsh desert countries. And we've been with our neighbors and their children to have a meal and be at the playgrounds and ride the merry-go-rounds and things like that. And see, those lifestyle changes are much harder than doctrinal changes. I would rather witness to Al-Qaeda than get between a conservative Baptist mother and the time she thinks she has to homeschool her children. One of those you have a chance of surviving, the other you don't. Now, that's a lot of tongue in cheek, but our mothers are changing the time of day their kids take a nap and the time of night that their kids sleep in order to be with their people that they love and they want to see them in the kingdom of God. I am a witness to the fact that on many church staffs with multiple staff members, they have not had meals in each other's house. And so what we're asking of them to do is, like you said so well, is recapture the biblical sense of hospitality. Why are we working so late and so long? Do we need that extra car? Do we need that Hawaii vacation? What is it? It's not really what is it that I can give up for the kingdom of God, is what investment can I put into the kingdom of God that pays dividends and souls that go to heaven. Mm. You know, I can build a bank account or I can build a heaven account. And so it is, I don't want to make it sound easy. These lifestyle changes are hard. And you know what? We go to a Muslim's house, and after 4 or 5, 6 hours, we can stop the visit. We can say thank you and it's a wonderful visit. Food, generous people, my goodness.
Yeah, very
but
generous.
I can say, so our young mothers can say, you know, I've got to get up early and homeschool the kids, so thank you. And about 9 or 10 o'clock, we're gone. But when they come to our houses, guess what?
They're not leaving. They're not going home until 3 a.m.
And so you've got to get into a different rhythm of life. And going from Africa, where we got up when it was daylight and we went to bed when it got dark, the Arab world was a huge adjustment for us, a huge adjustment. And staying up midnight, I think a lot of this is for younger people, perhaps, but you see, even when you go in their homes, when the older ones will go off somewhere and take a nap and rest and then get back up, it's just a easier lifestyle. But again, I think here's something for us to unpack another time. I think the West gets an A+ for teaching the content of the Bible. And we go book by book, chapter by chapter, verse by verse. We love expository preaching, which is good for Christians, not a very good witnessing tool. Yeah, and give us a D- for teaching the context.
Yeah.
And I think the context is just as inerrant and infallible as the content. We make the woman at the well come to church to get saved. We make the demonic go to a counselor. The leper, we've got a place for him to go. And yet 90%, when John the Baptist in prison asked Jesus, "Are you the Messiah?" Jesus said, "The blind see, the deaf hear, lame walk, lepers cleansed, dead raised," on and on. And where did that take place? In the marketplace, outside of any religious institution.